Hello, Babs. We're back with more Incarnation from Edith Ellis. Edith. Chapter 11. What is the answer? I have to find a... I guess I could just lay these books flat. We also have a special guest, Oberon Eclipse. Chapter 11. What is the answer? We, who must be the ones to prepare a soul to reincarnate, are, in many ways, the victims of mortal life. I say must because we are the few who realize that unless those of us who are able to command our thoughts make some effort to elevate the mental lives of our fellows, the inevitable retrogression of the race would make life here a veritable hell. We are hard put to make headway even with our constant energetic and systematic methods of instruction. The forces on the earth plane are no longer concerned with the construction of a high spiritual civilization, but with getting the fun out of life. This may mean only material comforts and amusements, or it may be the achieving of wealth and political power, but it gives no help to the citizen in making him a desirable person when he dies. I am speaking of the masses. Many fine souls incarnated by those who are still inspiring them from our plane are to be found, but their number is steadily decreasing. Few men of high mental caliber have any desire to enter life in the United States in this age. To this, I may add that the same condition is true in Asia and Africa, also in Europe, except where there is settled government and a chance for peace of mind to pursue a tranquil life. All of us who have waited for more than a century here see little chance of retrieving our lost heritage of a free and enlightened race, pursuing knowledge and the peaceful arts in an atmosphere that we long for, one in which individual worth is its own passport to a respectable position in the Commonwealth. The virtue of publicity has poisoned the springs of citizenship. The notoriety seekers are always in the van and are found in all the positions where personal integrity is most needed. We are not eager to enter a contest that is based on such false values and in which the rewards are given to mediocrity. Hence, we are forced to remain on this plane, more and more overburdened by the crass and ignoble specimens of humanity that are arriving. Only youth is of the least help. Only youth is of the least help. The victims of the World War who are not raving maniacs as the result of the horrors they endured. These young men are our best helpers. They came at a time when they were not long out of their classrooms. Their sad fate has made them bitter against the world, and they are content to remain here until there is a change in earthly conditions, and a hope of reincarnating into a world that will not use their mortal bodies as ammunition in the struggle for domination, nor corrupt their minds with greed and sensuality. There is also a very fine class of women whose help is beyond estimating. They are those who were mothers and wives and sisters of men who fell in the Civil War. Most of them have remained here to aid in raising the mental tone of those younger generations who knew no such terrible suffering as both the northern and southern citizens of their time endured. Hard, brittle, selfish, and vain, the average woman who has come here in the past 25 years is a problem. Only a few can grasp even the first principles of our method of creative thought. They are only able to remember. Their memories have more to do with their own sex appeal for men, their appearance, and the effect it produces than anything else. They frustrate themselves because they long to appear in the most lovely light to everyone. Yet they cannot concentrate long enough to understand, much less learn to practice the methods that would give them the beautiful apparel and surroundings they see possessed by the women who are striving to teach them. When we get a child, one say from 5 to 10 years of age, who has been in a very simple environment, we are able to make of it a valuable contribution to human society. Many such are the recorders and teachers here now. They have lost all sense of earth life and are content to remain in the only existence they know. They hesitate to incarnate, fearing to become like the people that they are, for the most part, trying to humanize. We shall not attempt to elucidate the sexual perverts. We shall not attempt to elucidate the sexual perverts who are beginning to arrive. They are not the most important or the greatest of our problems. They sometimes, even usually, are too intelligent to be a nuisance to others who do not share their perverted instincts. They herd by themselves. They're even making claims to have a semi-divine mission, that of destroying Earth life by refusing to add children to the race of mortals. They do not yet realize that there is no real advancement in the race except through earthly experience. We here are only able to use the memory of a past Earth life as a scale by which to measure values. The pervert never makes the mistake of ignoring a chance to learn how to create beauty. He is usually one who, in his mortal life, substituted the emotion beauty awakens for the love instinct. He is bitter in his attitude toward normal men because he is aware of his own failure to be complete and natural. His soul never really consents to his mode of life. The woman pervert, too, is beginning to come in increasing numbers, and though she is a problem we do not welcome, still we are able to accomplish many fine results with her. She is in most instances an embittered and disillusioned creature who has suffered humiliation from men. Frustrated and at bay, she begins to long for some way of expressing love. She is usually not young, and she has taken a course of desperation to make her middle age at least not entirely without companionship. The young lesbian is a vicious product of the 20th century's licentiousness and bravado. We dread the coming of such women. They will be a great strain on the women who are in charge of their cares, these cases. There are but a few of the mental cases. When we are in warfare, there are but a few of the mental cases. I can't read. I could blame it on the beer, but I don't. All right, let's start this again. These are but a few of the mental cases that we are in warfare against. Maybe it is the beer. Our resources are only those men and women who are willing to teach in the hope of making some improvement in the human animal. Our best helpers are all but despairing at the prospect. We hope that you in Earth life will bestir yourselves and make an effort to raise your moral standards before you come here. That is the only answer you can make to a situation that is fast becoming intolerable here. No religious or sectarian move to this end should be spared. The corrupting influences of the screen, the stage, cheap literature, and obscene dancing, if such exhibitions of sexuality as we observe are to be called by that name, are obvious. American Puritanism may be a sterile philosophy, but the present libidinous one has not been an improvement. The animals, by contrast, seem a superior species. We often look in on the jazz palaces and see the most hideous specimens, travesties of the human face and form engaged in an exercise of sensuality, set to the savage rhythms from the orchestra, as makes the brothels of the Orient seem places of comparative refinement. I shall not be far out of reckoning if I say that jazz music, and this travesty called modern dancing, have set the race back 3 centuries. Our people are past masters in savagery without the restraining taboos of the primitive tribes. Nothing is too low for the American to call amusement. His bestiality is corrupting even the colored race, which gave promise of being the greatest spiritual influence in the country. We got a stuck page. Even now, it is superior manners, charm, and decency to the white. I say this with full knowledge of the prejudice that it will inspire. We get all men here, therefore we think we are in the position to judge of their respective qualities. The average soul of the black race that we meet here is kindly, free from greed, sensitive in the highest degree to any effort made to help him. Negroes are among our own most valued helpers. You who cling to racial prejudices will have some bitter experiences when you come here. We are the souls of men, not the bodies, and we are judged by our souls. Again, what is your answer? Will you not, for your own sakes, as you must also come here, make an attempt to elevate your social customs, morals, fellow manners? The answer is that you must return to the graces and decencies of conduct if you would inhabit a world that is more than a moral sty after your death. Whoa, she's laying down the law against lesbians and racists. Let's get on to chapter 12. When this man comes, is it Johnny Cash? The average man thinks that he is to make a great sensation by merely appearing on this plane. The discovery that you are alive after the death of the body is such a startling one that the miracle appears to you to be one of absorbing interest to everyone else here. Of course, it concerns your immediate friends and family, but apart from those who have loved you, you simply are another soul that has to be educated, another burden on those who are already sustaining a load that has been almost too great to bear, especially since the World War congested our plane. I am not going to pretend that we are such gods that we wish to leave this plane to its destruction simply because that is possible. We prefer to do what we can to humanize and civilize it. Men here are made to conform to the good of the whole social body. As they are in mortal life, order is heaven's first law. That phrase, properly interpreted, simply means that there can be no heaven, no peace, which is the highest happiness we know, unless there is order. We think that you of the present era have all but destroyed order in your own world and ours. The most perfect example of the disorder of the mortal world is typified by the criminal class. The political grafting and disordered sex morals of the United States of America. We are not oblivious of the many worthy people who are victims of this chronic condition, but we do know that there is little respect for the high order of character that must always be the foundation of any ordered society. Liberal minds are now degenerating into a class-conscious, selfish desire to pull down rather than to raise the level of American life. I am only mentioning this here to show you that we are not apt to feel very keen at the arrival of the souls of this age. Exceptions are, of course, many, but the mass is a forbidding prospect. You on earth have now ceased to think each for himself. The press and the camera are used to keep the average man in a state of docility, and he swallows at a gulp any movement or propaganda that the higher powers ladle out for his consumption. Whether leaders of finance or of labor, popular screen actors or very sensational novelists, all are bent on one thing, making the crowd follow them or their ideas. No thought of service enters into their minds. I am not speaking of the great expectations. Never did it take more courage than now for a man to follow his higher instincts. We can see many men and women who are heroic in their effort to leaven the mass. We are simply aware of the futility of their efforts so long as there is no comprehension of the most important fact of life. The fact that the average man is not a creature that will be any addition to the race when he comes here. Many men console themselves for their self-acknowledged failure to achieve a decent standard of thought and action by believing that it will not matter in the end. The end meaning, for them, extinction, or an afterlife such that they can create a new and different standard and become very different persons. Unfortunately for them, as well as for us, they cannot be other than what they already are. We are not eager to meet you. You are ignorant, selfish, conceited, and far from personally attractive. Why should we wish to help you? Your only help must come from us, from those who have been here so long that they can command the many departments of science here, the masters of etheric life. It is as if you came to this country in the steerage and expected on going ashore to becoming a leading citizen without knowing the language or the laws and with no means of helping yourself, a pauper in terms of the world's currency. Here your poverty is of the spirit. I hope this plain speaking will make a sufficient impression to make you who may come. What is this saying? I hope this plain speaking will make a sufficient impression to make you, who may come upon it. I think there should be some commas there, Miss Ellis, even though you're a writer of high esteem. It feel the need of helping your own case by a higher level of thought, but more especially at organizing such thought in others. One who reads a work of this kind is more apt to be already on his spiritual ascension, than the average man of whom I am speaking. We shall ask our leaders here to make an effort to help all those who in prayer or mediation desire help to rise above the present conditions of society. Now I come to the point of asking you what you expect to give us in return for our help. We are not asking alms or fees and money. We deal in thought. Will you pay for help? Will you support a movement for the propaganda and the dissemination of the facts I am giving you? There will be no very great generosity required on your part. A few words telling of your knowledge of these facts. Taking a stand for the investigation of our plane and for cooperation between it and your own. I have headed this chapter, When This Man Comes. That's the point. You will come. You can't avoid coming. What sort of addition will you be to life here? You can't bring your money, your pull, your worldly standing. You can only bring your mind. That will be accurately appraised. Be sure we shall welcome any man who arrives with the honest mind of one who has not sold out to the sophistry of recent years. We are able always to read your thoughts. We hope that you will form a habit of mind that will make you at least endurable. The ruling passion strong in death is nothing to the power of the ruling passion strong after death. All right, who you are, or who are you? See how many pages this is before I get started. I think it's going to be the last one because it looks like a long chapter. We haven't had a bell in a while. Let me drink some more beer so I can show that I am no alcoholic. And one beer frazzles my senses. All right, let's get to this. Chapter 13. Who are you? That is the most important question. Who, and more especially, what are you? We are not very likely to put such a question to you. As a matter of fact, we do not have to ask it. We know by your radiations just what sort of mind you have, and the mind here is the whole man. We also know without asking what your thoughts are, for we are in a medium that transmits thought. Etheric telepathy is the means of communication here. We have to insulate ourselves against minds that would intrude upon us. Only those can do this who have mastered the secrets of the ether. We have no means of telling what you may become. That is entirely a matter of your own will, ambition, and power of concentration. We have no way of prophesying what you will even desire to become. The average man now arriving here is not able to think beyond his old habit of mind. Memory is his master. He cannot conceive of life except as he has lived it. We are only able to put before him the difference in this mode of life from that of the earth plane. If he shows any desire to take on a new mentality, we are ready to help him. Pardon. Some men on arriving here take the attitude of being terribly let down. They think that heaven should not depend upon them. but be handed to them as a reward for living. Sorry, my eye's itching. This is an old trick of the human animal. He always wants something for nothing. He will have to learn, however, that no one has ever succeeded in beating the cosmos. You may impose upon the good nature of those spirits who are connected with you by ties of love and friendship to the extent of sponging on their good-natured hospitality, but in the end, you are the loser. If you are a wise man or even a reasonably fair man, you will, on coming here, relax and try to absorb what is told you. All that you will see in the way of homes, public edifices, amusement palaces, lecture halls, great stadiums where we gather in convention, all these were reared by those who had learned to create. This sounds like an Ayn Rand novel at this point, buddy. These creations are etheric forms that look solid enough but are not of material substance. So it's basically an alternate universe. I mean, not that this is a historical document or anything, but come on. You will be allowed to dwell, if not with friends in their homes, then in the public homes we have called for the reception of lone souls who arrive. Many of these places are required at present because of the low grade of the minds that are now coming there, minds self-hypnotized by the sole idea of money, business, greed, and trickery. We are willing to help them and give them the same lectures and demonstrations that all receive, but they cannot dismiss their old thoughts. They are growing to be a great nuisance. I say these things because it is only fair to you, as well as to us, to warn you that you will have to change your present tendencies. If you expect to make yourself comfortable here, we cannot see the point of making the state furnish everything, as seems the present tendency. Well, I mean, in their defense, they have no jobs. They're dead. They just came here. They have no... I mean, what are you going to use for your resume? We cannot see the point of making the state furnish everything, as seems the present tendency. It unfits the individual for life here and sends him to this plane an infant in willpower. He is not developed to bear the responsibility of attending to his own wants on this plane. By wants, I do not mean food and drink. We do not require these things. We have in the ether all the sustaining elements our present body requires. So why do you need a house? Your wants consist in proper surroundings. Most men wish to have their own home and the objects that represents the thing they loved in their earthly dwellings. There is a class of people here who cannot visualize anything but their own old homes during earth life. Others with imagination create the most beautiful residences, representative of their dreams. Others are always rebuilding, never satisfied, but seeing what they can create out of their own originality. This is all done by concentration and imagination. Your wants include your desire for companionship, for amusement, travel. Until you are able to learn how these wants are met, you can only be a burden on the minds of those who look after you. This means a strain for them. And you could just put them back to sleep for 4 or 5 years. It is much more difficult to convey another mind to a different locality than only to think for oneself. I am not able to give you the exact method for the reason that until you are free of your body of flesh and in your etheric body, you cannot feel what, for want of a better description, may be called mental sensations. These are the key to the whole system of movement. I am, however, able to say this much. You will do well to make a study of some abstract science. If you are a man of education, you can take a course of study in physics, mathematics, radioactivity, even electricity. These are all good training for the work here. The simple rules of algebra are of value. The mental processes necessary for living here are very complex. You cannot attain to any importance here except by thinking. If you are untrained in anything but commercial barter, your positions will be a very humble one, for you will find no use for the sort of mentality your business has given you. I mean, this is a caste system like no other. I mean, considering, I would guess, I don't know the exact facts, but you got to imagine at least half the world is at least functionally illiterate. So, I mean, you go to the purgatory stage of the etheric body, and you're basically just a slave there to their whims, to the whims of the intelligent and those imbued with scientific thought. I'm not saying these things in order to assume a superior attitude. My object is to warn you to save yourself. If you pursue a commercial vocation, you might surely take up some study on the side that will be a relief from the monotony of your business hours. Golf is no preparation for work or life here. Neither is neither is bridge. Pinochle, yes, but not bridge. If business confines you and in the office daily, some physical exercise is necessary to health, but a few miles walk would provide that. Golf accomplishes this object, but it usually absorbs the mind to the exclusion of anything else. I am speaking of and to Americans. They seem to have no idea of mental balance. They pigeonhole their minds and make no attempt to enjoy the many sides of life that literature, art, science, study, and mental effort can give them. Unless it is allied to making money. Perhaps I shall be understood if I tell you that the only class of men who are our despair is the crowd of salesmen who are coming here now. It's always salesmen. We're coming here now, high-pressure men who but lived and breathed to put over their goods, whether these were over-the-counter articles or insurance policies. We have so many of these poor victims of the commercial age that they form the largest group of problem cases. We try to get their attention, but they have no will except to try to recall their past successes, which they recount to one another ad infinitum. They are unable to look after themselves and usually live in the homes of their Oh man, you waited what 2 decades to get away from your mom and dad, and now you're going back to their house. I don't mean to minimalize this book, but come on now. These parents have now come mostly to the point of learning how to take care of themselves. In some instances, they are advanced students. They try to cope with the mind of their salesman's son, but he is quite of the opinion that they are inferior to him and to his age, because they cannot see any point in his giving his thoughts to something he can never make use of. Here we come to the very thing I must stress. You have no right to come here in such a state of conceited ignorance. Your parents in most cases gave you sufficient religious instruction to prevent your complete collapse into materialism. However dogmatic or theoretical you may have considered that religion, it contained the elements of the science of life. You were taught the use of prayer. That was the most valuable of all lessons. You were not aware that it is the elemental preparation for creation here in our etheric plane. It is the beginning of the science of vibration. Your own mind and words ascending to a plane of thoughts above your material level gain power. Here it is demonstrable in the highest possible manner. You who think your prayers are wise, you who speak them are even wiser. You who do not pray at all are spiritual more. We think, and you will also one day, that you have sold your birthright for a mess of pottage. You cannot go on, you Americans, and the way you are headed, and avoid a dark age. I agree. All the Western nations have shown the same tendency, but none of them has so completely failed as we. This is the more tragic, as we had the most glorious of opportunities to make not only a free nation, but an enlightened one. We are now behind all the others in spirituality. The proof of this is here. When the American dies, he is usually not worth the time we must give in trying to make him a complete human being. For here we are truly humans. We must be, if we have a decent mentality, or become demons. You are neither one nor the other. You are not vicious, only stupid. The vicious, as I shall show you further on, can reincarnate. That takes will and thought. The stupid cannot, because they cannot concentrate. You will simply add to the vast community of souls who can neither make use of life on this plane nor by reincarnation give themselves another chance. That chance might mean that you would seek an incarnation where you would receive an education or in an environment that would be favorable to your mentality and your soul's progress. I do not say that you are personally to blame for the limited scope of your thoughts, and I am still speaking of the salesman type. You are the victim of a system of life that has turned back progress, led to the world war, and bids fair to all but destroy the fruits of the spirit that exist on earth through the labors of the best minds throughout the centuries. Only a fool would choose to throw away a chance to retrieve in what measure he still may the mistake of such wrong mental training. We know the pressure of modern life, the difficulty of earning a decent living in this age, but it is better to make an effort to save what you can of your future by making sacrifices now. One moment of realization, one flash of consciousness by which you see the principle of what I have told you, and you will be on your way. An open mind is the first requisite. Save your mind now. It is all you can bring with you. See that it is usable when you get here. Who you are then depends upon it. Whew! That was ponderous. I will ponder the last sip of this beer before I go on my sunshiny walk. All right, bruv. Cheerio.